monitors. I'm done. D-O-N-E. Put a fork in me. Can't do this anymore. Huh? Do what, baby? Do what? I thought you were saying something. Oh, surely I'll get there. There it is. Oh, man. All right, I'm going to check it out, see if you can see this. Oh, no. You can see the answers already. Oh, there we go. That would be scary if you could see that already. All right, there's the do now. Take a look. Take a look. Including your answer why. And just kind of a heads up for you guys here in person. Let's see, how many do I have in person? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, 13 of you guys. About every third time I teach this lesson, I cry. So if I cry, don't freak out. Well, you'll see when we get there, but a little bit. Don't be like, oh, and get close. We got to be socially distanced. All right. I'll be starlight all night. Everybody's dreaming. Oh, man. All right, let's see. Oh, yeah, thank you. Make sure that you include why in your answer. I want to see how much you guys remember. Thank you, Mohammed. But we need a little more than that. Think about it just a little more than that. Oh, Lennon 6, thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, Samira, awesome. Awesome. Van Zandt, Jesus, don't share the goodness. Keep it to yourself, baby. Good job. Oh, I know it. Oh, sorry. Oh, good job, Rodolfo. Good job. You guys are going to do well on the quiz. You guys remember a lot. Keep it up. Good job, Rodolfo. Bricinho, let me see. Take another look at it, Bricinho. Take another look at it, Bricinho. Emma, we also need a reason why. Okay, thank you, Ethan. Good job. We're going to build on this idea today, so it's really important that we remember why. There is no community A, B, C, or D. There's species A, B, C, and D, but there's community 1 and community 2. Oh, Epps, I'm sorry, I didn't let you in there. Palacios, I apologize. I thought I couldn't see it. Sorry about that. Hey, can I see your screen? So I need to see what it looks like for you. All right, make sure I can see your screen because I'm going to be going back and forth. So just have it tilted enough that I can see it because I'm going to use you in case I get off. Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate that. Okay, so Laura, let's see, because there are more of each and tree. And this is just while we're waiting for everybody to pile in here. So those of you guys that are here early, thank you so much. You guys do know what are you? What class are you guys? Yeah, but 2B, what are you? The best. Okay, okay. And the best is my favorite. There you go. Okay, yeah, you're the best and my favorite class. That's right. That's right. Hush, hush, Lynn. Don't say that. Hush. What do you mean by variety? What do you mean by variety? Because I've got the same species in both A, B, C, and D. You can see them in both communities. What do you guys mean when you say variety? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Emma. Okay. And you guys are using the vocabulary super well. I'm really surprised. Okay, so one of you guys said variety in terms of more of, but I had the same species in both. So when you say more, what do you mean by more? More like more species or more individuals? And we'll just hang here for one more minute before we start. Let's see. They have, so when I've got somebody that says more diverse because it tains, community one has different types of species. They both have the same species. Both communities have species A, B, C, and D, but which one is more diverse? They both have the same number of species. Well, yeah, they do, but the ratio is different. That's the difference. The percentages are different. So which one? Thank you. But why? Some of you guys are still giving me, I've got, many of you guys have told me. All right, it is time. We're going to go ahead and begin. For those of you guys that just came in, we're looking at the do now. We're about to take the quiz in just a second. And I'm going to break this. Thank you, Palacios. Good job. All right, so I just answered the question. Many of you guys gave me almost this exact answer. Very excited that I really am excited. It was about the evenness. And many of you guys actually said that too. You actually used the word evenness. And the evenness is greater in community one than in community two. When you look at community two, we have these percentages that really make the big difference. That's really what makes the difference in this case, is going to be how evenly distributed these groups are. All right, you need to go to Schoology. It's where everybody wants to be all the time. I'm going to stop for a moment. And I'll take attendance from this. Let me go to Schoology. We're going to build, if I can get there eventually. Okay, here we go. And this is to be, yep. All right, there is a quiz already there for you. It's from the last class. I'm going to be quiet. You can click on it. And you have 7 minutes when you open the quiz. Epps, you want to start now. Otherwise, you're going to have 6 minutes. So you have 7 minutes. And I will be quiet and let you guys take that. Read it carefully. You guys are hyper prepared for it. Extremely prepared for it. What you got, man? Say it again? Oh, there it is. It just says, you have to hold your mouth just right, and it works. Good morning, kiddos. If you're just joining us, we just finished the do now, and we are now taking the quiz in today's lesson. You can go here, you go to class content, ecology, today's lesson, and you will see the quiz from the last class. It's about that diversity and those keystone species, foundational species. How do you feel about it? On a scale of 1 to 10, you see which quality? Does it tell you? How do you feel about it? Ooh, it was tough. Turn up the heat a little bit. Turn up the heat a little bit. It's that time of year. We got to turn up the heat. These are all application questions. You have to really apply what you know. Think about this. But you went through it fast. You had more time. You had 3 more minutes. Think about it. If you're just joining us, we finished the do now and we are taking the quiz. To get to the quiz, you need to go to class content, the unit ecology, and the today's lesson 3:30 succession, and the quiz is here. Most people will be done in 2 minutes, but you'll have 7 minutes for the quiz. I recommend taking your time. I recommend taking your time. Good, I'm glad some of you guys are doing really well. Good job. Holy crap, you guys are doing really well. Holy crap. You guys are killing it. Those were tough questions. Jesus, kids. Y'all should give yourself a round of applause for that. I was kind of expecting it to be a little more moderated. All right, that is a 1 minute warning. I'm going to start teaching in 1 minute. When you are done, please go back to just the unit, and I'm projecting it now, so you should take a look at the agenda. So Washington, you should probably take a look at the agenda So we're going, what you guys did essentially was a star question that I had taken the multiple choice out of. And you guys did really well. And that wasn't even a multiple choice question. You guys did really well. You had to come up with the answer. You just took a quiz. It was a little longer than 5 minutes. So we're a little behind right now. But we are going to, I'm going to spend 15 minutes going over the notes. Again, if it's red, what do you do if it's red? If I have highlighted in red, you write it down. So make sure that you have your notes so that when I get started in just a moment, that you are able to take notes. If it's in red, it's important. If it's red, it's usually a vocabulary term. If it's red, it's an important concept. And then I'm going to end with an analogous story. It should take me about 5 minutes, and we may have about 5 minutes to need to discuss it. Usually I like to afford a little more time to this. And again, it's kind of a warning to you guys that are in person. I'm a little older. It used to cause me some tears when I would use this earlier in my career, and now I'm a little older. And so time heals all wounds, right? And so you feel a little better about it. And then we're going to go into guided practice. We're going to go into guided practice. And then I put DP for guided practice too, which is silly. I've just got DP on my brain. And so I'm going to go over some of the solutions by me. All right, so there'll be, again, just like before, there's always a quiz after each class to assess you guys, and you guys killed it. Your average was 93 for this class. That is awesome. And that is, I'm serious, that's awesome. I was not expecting that. I was expecting something a little lower. I was thinking maybe 80, but that's awesome. You guys are setting the tone. All right, so let me go ahead and start. Go back to the PowerPoint, and here we go. Well, I say here we go. Hold on, let me see if I can get my share screen option to work again. LB Star. Hey, good morning. Oh, you got just in time, Mildred. Wow. Don't worry about the quiz. Deal with it at lunch. Okay, again, we've got to go. Yeah, here we go. Our concept today. So what we're dealing with today is going to be the concept of non-equilibrium. Can somebody remind me, what does it mean for equilibrium? Like if you have reached an equilibrium, what would be a good synonym for the word equilibrium? I'm sorry? Same, sort of like, right? One day to the next would be the same. Can anybody else give me another synonym? Yeah, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry? Balance. Okay. What about online? You guys drop it in. Oh, there's already several in there. Balance. Yeah, there's a lot of people putting balance. Balance is a great one to use. It doesn't mean necessarily homeostasis, but it does mean that there is some sort of balance. So we used to think of nature as being balanced. Now we know that nature operates on something they call a non-equilibrium. There are disturbances, and with disturbances come change, and with change can get new beginnings. And we're going to really think about these things in terms of new beginnings as well. 3 new terms, all in red. First one is we're going to deal with is a term called succession. So let's see how well you guys do with this. So Van Zandt, who is the president of the United States? Joe Biden. Lopez, who was the previous president of the United States? Donald Trump. So Joe Biden succeeded Donald Trump. Who was before Donald Trump? Laura? Barack Obama. Donald Trump succeeded Barack Obama. Who was president before Barack Obama? Let's try a Sosa. Who was president before Barack Obama? George W. Bush. Barack Obama succeeded George Bush. Man, we're doing pretty good. Epps, can you beat that? Who did George Bush succeed? Okay, anybody know Palacios? Clinton. And who was it? Who again? Bill Clinton. So this is succession, one thing taking over for another. My son and daughter have succeeded me. I succeeded my parents. My parents succeeded their parents. It's one thing taking over for another. That is what succession is. It's replacing one thing for another. So when we think about ecology, we're thinking about one species succeeding another. Good job on line 2. You guys are following that along. Another one, yeah, you can think of it as overcome. Good idea, Samir. It could be one thing overcomes and takes over for another. Now there's primary succession and there's secondary succession. So to make an analogy, primary could also, what's a good synonym for primary? Oops. You're on your phone, so I'm going to call on you every time. So what's a good word for primary? Good synonym. Number one, first. I've heard a lot of people say a lot of things. Number one, first, and online, yes, several of you guys are saying first. So who was the first president of the United States? Okay, George Washington. So you could think of that person as being the primary person. Secondary succession, and you take over. The thing that's going to be different when you look at this, and we'll come back, is you'll see primary succession, it occurs when there's in a lifeless area. There's no life that exists there. There is going to be like an island comes out of the ocean and it's bare rock, and then life colonizes it. Secondary succession is going to be where something has happened to an area and it removes all the life, and all that's left is soil. So then you get a recolonization. Our life comes back to where it already was before. So we got primary and secondary succession. And I'm going to give you plenty of examples, and you'll be able to work through these. These terms are going to be important here. I could not highlight these in red. I tried, but I can't. But this is an image I found. So if I am going to, and this is, stages of forest succession, if I have a place where there's some primary succession occurring, we get early pioneers. We get these pioneers that come in very early. These are annual species. These are species that live and die. And then when you die, we have this old term, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. When you die, you decompose. When you decompose, you leave soil behind. You can see the soil is getting deeper. This is the soil. It's getting deeper as the forest gets more mature as we go through time. The x-axis here is time. The x-axis is time. Looks like we've got a question in the chat or a comment in the chat. Let's entertain that for a moment. And Thanos. Okay, and I don't get your context. I am an old man. Thanos means nothing to me. Could you explain yourself? Do you guys get the analogy Thanos that somebody's using for this? Could you explain? Okay, Thanos turns people into dust. Okay, I got you. So these organisms live and die, and they leave their soil behind. They leave their bodies behind for other organisms to grow on. So these live and die. They leave a foundation. These live and die. They leave a foundation, and this is succession. One set of organisms taking over another, building on the successes of another. This is what succession essentially is. This is a great example of it. We have glaciers. Glaciers are retreating, potentially in world geography. You guys have looked at these landforms and these ice forms. As the glaciers retreat, this is where ice was. We get these early pioneers. We get these small plants that come in. They live and die on this bare rock, and they leave some soil. You can see here, you get some smaller woody plants. These maybe live and die in a year. These live and die in maybe 4 or 5 years. Finally, you get some spruce trees, and finally you get some bigger, what we call alder trees, and they'll come in and they build this in. So this is old, this is new. These are my newest workplaces. So in this area, you can see that I would get more mature organisms and more mature forests the closer I get to the opening of Glacier Bay. Then we would finally get to this point where we can take a look at some successional stages, again, when we're looking at kind of soil nitrogen. So the older the nitrogen is, the more soil there is. The older the soil, the more nitrogen is. Nitrogen is like gold. Nitrogen's rich. Nitrogen is going to give these organisms what they need to grow. The more nitrogen you have, the more power you have. Remember, nitrogen is going to be in biomolecules of protein and DNA. If you've got more nitrogen, you've got more fuel. You've got more to grow on. And so as these pioneers live and die, they leave this kind of, you can think of it almost like generational wealth behind. These live and died so that these could thrive. And these live and died so that these could thrive. And these live and died so these could thrive.
and you're finally trying to get to a point that we would consider to be a climax. If I go back to my picture, you can see this would be the climax. So these live and die so that these can thrive. These live and die so that these can thrive. And finally, you reach this point that we call it a climax forest. A forest that's fully mature and has all the attributes that you would need. Now, I do want to go back and take a look. Which seems more diverse? When you look at this, and remember, it's all about the number and evenness. So if you look at these 5 stages, which do you think is diverse? If you could put a number on it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Take a look at it really carefully. Oh, which seems more diverse? I've got so many answers. It's crazy. This, we've got a lot. Online, I see a lot of 5s, and here I get a lot of 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s and 5s. So who thinks a 1? Okay, you're going back. Who thinks a 2? Okay, could you come on your mic and say why?
I would say 2.
Let me hear. I'm going to mute myself. I may not be able to.
I would say 2 because as you can see, there's like the pink ones and then the green ones, and then there's the little shrubs. So that one would be diverse because it has a variety of plants.
And you would actually be right. Can you hear me? Yeah, hello? Yeah, you can. You'd actually be right. Often it's the early stages that are more diverse. And often that is the case. You can also see evenness there. So you're 100% on. Trust your eyes. You think, oh, it's mature, so it's going to be more diverse. Not necessarily true. All right, so I also want to think about human disturbances. So many of you guys, how many of you guys have been here since kindergarten? I'm curious. Holy smoke. So when you were in kindergarten, was this building here? Okay, so not the elementary, and the one over there, that's changed. Do you think that has disturbed the organisms that were there? Okay, why? Hold on, let me get Peyton, she's right here. Could you say that loud? Say it loud so people can hear you. You can speak to my computer.
You have to like cut down trees, move a lot of things out the way so you can put a building up.
Do you think that organisms could recolonize this area if we left it alone? Yes. Why do you think that?
Because when I'm messing with it and like they can do like the trees can get building stuff.
Have you ever seen like moss or algae growing on concrete before? You have not? Some of you guys are nodding your head. How many of you guys have a sidewalk around your house that has cracks in it? What grows in the cracks? Yeah, grass, little plants grow in those little cracks, right? And as things break down with time, sure, he can get recolonized. If you've ever seen I Am Legend, the movie, when he goes through, he's driving through New York hunting what? Well, the creature things, but in the very beginning of the movie, he's driving through New York hunting what? Deer. Those were deer. Yeah. So that's succession. That's all those organisms moving man after people have died out. They've moved back. Now, this is the point where I'll start to probably cry a little bit. I may not. We'll see. It's been some time, so I haven't in a while, but it could happen. So I'm going to jump, and you can see here that this is, it looks like a grave, and it is a grave. And there was a disturbance. I mean, obviously, when we dig a hole, you can see grass grow on top of where that disturbance happened. So I'm going to back up for a moment. My grandparents, my grandmother and grandfather, both worked, and my grandmother, I always admired her a lot because she worked in a time where women weren't allowed really out of the home. I mean, there was pretty much the husband said, "You're not going to work." They both were products of World War II. Women went to work during World War II because most of the men were fighting. So my grandfather included. So my grandmother had to work. When my grandfather came back from the war, my grandmother was working. She was going to stay there and work. And she had my father. As my father was growing up, they asked a lady to come work for them. Her name was Rose Bird. She was about a year or two older than my father. And I always thought a lot of Rose. Rose was my aunt. And I even called her, my aunt. I would just say, Aunt Rose. Every time I went to my grandparents' house, she was at my grandparents' house, as long as it was during the day. If you guys have ever seen the movie The Help, you probably kind of get an idea of what this is like. How many of you guys have actually seen this movie or read the book? Just 2 of you.
I've
The
seen
Help?
it.
Okay, it's 3 of you, and those online. So it wasn't quite the same as that situation. This lady was the same age as my father, and I never thought of her being of anything other than a person that was a family member. So I was much older. I was 21 at the time, and I went to see my grandparents. And I went in. Usually, the first person I would look for, if it was during the day, would be Rose. And I walked around the house, and I was like, "Where's Rose? Where's Rose?" And she wasn't anywhere. And I was like, "Where the hell? Well, maybe she's, I don't know." So I went to ask my grandparents. I said, "Where's Rose?" And they were like, "Well, Rose died." And I was freaked out. Like, I could not freaking believe. Are you kidding? Rose is dead? Like, you just, and immediately I thought, oh my God, when's the funeral? Like, she had to have died yesterday. Like, this can't be real. Like, it was like, and I was like, oh my God, when's the funeral? This is a total shock. And I didn't know what, honestly didn't know what to, I started to cry. And my grandparents were looking at me like I was out of my freaking mind. And I'm looking at them like, well, what am I not understanding here? And it slowly became real to me that she hadn't died yesterday or that week, that it had been some time. And I never got a phone call. And I couldn't believe that they didn't call me about Rose's dying. I just couldn't believe it. It was just beyond me. And I realized for the first time in my life that I was the person who thought of Rose as my aunt. My dad was already dead. I think if my dad had been alive, they would have called him. My dad was already dead. My grandparents were still alive. I think I would have known sooner if my dad had not, because my dad, they grew up like brother and sister. And I thought, well, what in the, I couldn't believe it. I mean, so I asked him, I said, well, where is she buried? And they told me, and I went to her grave, and I don't have a photo of it, but I remember standing and looking at the grave, and grass was growing on it. And I was thinking, how had we had enough time for succession to take place, for a new colony of organisms to have grown over her grave? And I was unaware of this. And it broke my heart. I was furious with my grandparents, and I didn't go home for a long time. But succession is something that you are aware of. It's something that you see in the world. When you're outside and you see organisms taking over another area, you can see it. I'm going to make this and compare this to another analogy. You guys know that there's a lot been going on for the last year in terms of the civil rights movement. It's like a rebirth of the civil rights movement during your age. I grew up with learning about what happened in the 60s and 70s, and you guys are living out a new example. And I want you to think about this also in terms of primary and secondary succession. Primary succession is where you start from a rock. There's no soil that has ever been laid down. Somebody lays it down so the next generation can build on it. So in primary succession, you can think about this as the liberation of the slaves in the United States. there was the first people that had literally started from zero. They had been freed and they had nothing to stand on, and then they built upon it. You have had tons of secondary successors, tons of secondary successors. Again, these are annual pioneers. These were short-lived individuals whose memories, their collective memory is still real, but their individual names are lost. These secondary successors are people that are coming in and building on their success for us to stand on. So both of these groups of people have laid down soil. And I don't want you guys to think that we're anybody, including yourselves, are starting from zero. You're starting from somewhere. And everything is going to get better with time, but it takes work, and it takes your work in order to do it. Don't ever think, oh, I'm not going to fight hard, because somebody else has come ahead of you to fight for you, to give you a place to stand. Again, these are annual pioneers and these are short-lived pioneers. I want to go back so we don't miss the point exactly, but there is always something that gives you a foundation to build from. So these are the earliest pioneers, and this is where we are now. We have not reached the climax forest, and so I want you to know that we have to have a place to stand. I've said a lot, and I'll open it up for discussion for just, I hate to say it, but all we can really afford is about 5 minutes. And I've kind of opened up a Pandora's box a little bit. Usually I do this in a 90-minute class, and it's kind of hard to do in 70 minutes when we still have guided practice to do. So do you guys have anything that you would prefer to, or would like to share? Make me feel a little better too. You're looking at me pretty hard, and that's about it. Come on. What about you guys online? There was a ton of comments online, but we got a new message. Oh, you guys are giving me hugs. I'm good. I appreciate that. And I really am. I'm very hopeful. I'm probably one of the more hopeful people that you'll sometimes it may be kind of blind faith. What do you have, Portland? Sorry. All right, well, I'm going to give you some time to think about this in terms of our breakout rooms when we get to some guided practice. So give me a moment. And everybody, please go back to today's lesson on Schoology. And we're at succession, and we have some guided practice for us to work on. Now, again, I want you guys to work on it together. So how would you be able to work on it together, but work on the one document? Could you say that loud enough for everybody to hear it? And how do you share it with people? Copy and paste the document in there and give them permissions. Yes, and give them permission. Thank you. Yes, share the document and make sure that you are and you guys are sharing there's a lot. This is going to be one that's going to take some time. I don't want you to think it's very short answers, but I want you to think about it. So I'm going to open it to show it to you before we begin. I want to open it to show it to you before we begin. It's not as much as it looks like. Now, you do have some background information here. You do want to read the background information. So this is going to be testing your ability to read as well as look at diagrams. So you'll read this, and then you have to match it with the images that are here, as well as reading these descriptions. Use this information to answer these questions. It is going to test your ability to read. So you guys read and discuss, read and discuss. There are 15 minutes. I did it in 5. Obviously, I have to teach this, so it's really easy for me. But you can do it in these 15 minutes very, 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 very easily. The information that you need is here, and I'm really testing your skill of matching this with the images, And then finally, we get back down to the idea of the succession, where we go from the pioneers all the way to the climax. All I need you to do is put what organisms are in step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's it. All right. Now, I'm going to give you guys that 15-minute time period. Your breakout rooms are Let me see how many people we have.
29,
Yeah,
28.
so they're gonna have groups of 3. I want small groups, heavy lifting by no one person. Groups of 3, that way everybody does the heavy lifting. You guys can begin. You have 15 minutes. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, baby. Say yes. I'm sorry, I mixed my Spanish and English.
This is 4.
Yeah, you can see the rooms there. Good job talking. Yes. Yeah, I'll broadcast it to the room too. Thank you. Okay,
So-
guys, oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I
no,
didn't-
go for it.
I was looking at the people in this room. This is the room. It's randomly organized. And this is a very quiet group of people. Rodolfo's very verbose online, but yeah, I think them talking through this is going to be really important, because this is, you guys know that you're amongst the most quiet groups. Rodolfo does a lot of texting, and that's fine, I guess, but I really want them talking as much as possible. Do they have any questions already?
No, when you came in, I was just asking what you just answered, like who's going to be in charge. So I think, Mr. Pope, my question is then, if we have this thing that they're supposed to get done, what is the goal? And then I'd like to hear from the gentleman how they expect to execute the goal or get to the goal.
Okay, well, the goal is to work through the problems so they can compare what they got to what to everyone else. Like, I can walk through, and there'll be one person submit. And this is what we historically do when we have these collaborations. There'll be one person that will submit the document for everyone else. So everybody they would copy the link to their document and then give them, or other people would give them their email address, and they're all on the same document. They would work through it and then submit, and then I go over it to see what is incorrect and correct and why.
Okay. So gentlemen, everybody understands what to do, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So then now the question is, how are you gonna get there?
Yeah, so who is gonna be the submitter? I need to go check on another group that I don't have a window into, and then I gotta walk around and talk to the groups of the other students.
Thank you, Mr. Pope.
I gotta be able to see if they're right or wrong. Good. All right.
Hey, I'm gonna hop off.
Yep.
Can we follow up at the end of the day if you want?
Yeah, I hate that you didn't get to see the background leading up to that. It's like you came in right when we kind of got to the climax, so to speak.
And I can try it again, third period.
Okay.
Okay, thank you,
All right,
sir.
no worries, thank you.
Bye.
Mr. Pope, are we supposed to like share our
Yes, who is sharing? Who is going to be the person who submits?
I can be the person.
Okay, Clarissa, you'll be the person? All right, so they need to give you their email, and that way you guys are all looking at the same document and talking to one another. Y'all are there's only two groups where I don't have a window into them. Everybody else has got somebody that can look into their groups.
Right. So the more diversity, the older it is.
Not necessarily. Usually it's more diverse the younger it is. Because think about it this way, especially in a forest, because a forest has a ton of trees, and when those big trees shade everything below, so usually there's only one or two dominant trees, and there's less diversity in a mature forest. There's not as much sunshine. Usually, yes. Usually, it doesn't always work that, like, that's not gonna be that way on a prairie where there's just grass. But in a forest, yeah, for sure. In a pond, sometimes they'll be less diverse when they're mature too, because you'll lose all that aquatic organisms and you'll just have a marsh left over. You won't have the water anymore. You just want to look and count the species and see if they're even or not. If you want to trying to think about what's diverse or isn't. So who's, so Clarissa's sharing hers. Do you guys need anything else from me? Okay.
I was gonna ask how to be able to tell if the ponds are young and old.
Do what again?
Just tell the ages of the ponds.
And one of the questions, yeah, I mean, you're not sharing your screen, so I can't really tell you what.
How would you be able to tell?
If you shared your screen, you could tell me which one you're asking about. For number 10? Let me go to number 10. Number, oh, all right, hold on, she's sharing. Let them answer a question first. So which one are you guys asking about in particular?
I was asking about the first one.
Oh yeah, from youngest to oldest, yes, from the ponds. So like if you're doing which ponds is youngest to oldest, and that would be, yeah, we're talking about ponds A, B, C, or D. And you just write the letters, that's all.
I know that, but how would you really tell
Say
how
again?
young and old they are? How would
You
you
have
be
to,
able to
you
tell?
have to, you have to look at them. Look at them. Like go up and let's look at the pictures. Can you scroll up? We can see the pictures. Remember, you get more soil the older you are. Where's the soil the deepest? That'll be the oldest one. Which one would be the deepest set of soil? What do you mean, Kennedy? You can say it to everyone. You understand it and you can help everybody? Is that what you mean? Okay, all right. Y'all share your screen and I'm going to jump to another group.
That's 5 minutes, guys.
I can't hear you. I don't know what she's up to today. Don't know. I don't,
In the other class.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Yep, I need to too, because I'm hotter than a $4 bill. Hey, Fiona, do you have a sweatshirt on? It's supposed to be really cool this evening, but we got a cold front coming today.
It says eight
No.
to this.
Very little rain. We might get a little bit. If we have enough moisture in the atmosphere, but we don't.
I paid 165 and then I got
And
15.
I don't think they're gonna allow us to do it.
Are you done?
That was,
Number what? We have go with the primary, the secondary? Well, look like she's done, look like that's your What's that?
are you done, Epps? You done? Who's submitting for your group? Who is submitting for your group? Who? All right, let me go check. Have I? Oh, yeah. My wife's a mountain climber. My wife is a mountain climber. Yeah, that's what she does for her, not for her job, but that's what she does for her hobby. That's her passion. It's mountain climbing. It is pretty cool. She's a pretty amazing lady. She broke her leg on a mountain and climbed down with a broken leg. She either climbed down or stayed up there. One or the other. Yeah, exactly. What edits did you make? Epps? What edits did you make? Yeah, on the document. Huh?
It's because I came back late, so I couldn't, so when I came back, we're already in the city.
Yeah, you might want to choose when you take off. I mean, we want to get. All right. Did you get kicked out, Venegas? All right, here we go. Perfect time. Mhm. A lot of groups are. It's just practice. I'm gonna go over. I'm sorry? Can you do it in 90 seconds? You can if you hustle. Just be a champ. If there's somebody there, come back. All right, make sure that you guys, whomever was the person working on it, to go ahead and submit so we can take a look. I'll use that document to open and walk through it and see if they got it correct or not. And that way you guys can see what is and what is not correct. What was the point? And then, all right, here we go. So let's see who has submitted. Not that I'm aware of. Took a, are you freaking me out? You took a quiz, that wasn't a test. Shoot, you just had an exam. All right, so let's see, submissions for this. Perfect. Oh, there's only 2? I need you other people to submit. Let's see what you got. Come on, submit. I'll refresh my screen in 30 seconds. Go ahead and submit. That way I can go over this and look. Submit whomever was working on this. Go ahead and submit. Let's refresh our screen for submissions. Excellent. Good job. Epps, do you need you gonna walk us through these? Yeah. Oh, okay. That's what I'm gonna have you do. If you're looking around again, I need you paying total attention. I want your undivided attention on this. So let's see. Write the letters for the ponds in order from the youngest to the oldest. So we start out easy. B would definitely be the youngest. How would I know that, Laura? Yes, has the least amount of soil at the bottom. Using that logic, then A would be C would be next. A and then D. If I look at these, I think the most diverse is probably A. Probably in this case, third stage. I've got the mussel, the snail, dragonflies, frogs, fish, turtle, multiple species of plants. Awesome. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Black bass and bluegill make their nests on sandy bottoms, and which pond would best suit them? So which do you think is going to have the sandiest bottom? Let's take a look at that one, and let's ask Lopez. Lopez, which one should have the sandiest bottom? Are they correct? You think B? Well, which one has the sandiest bottom? Because it says that bluegills and bass need a sandy bottom. Okay, why B? It has no dirt. That's right. So we're starting with just the bare bottom, which would be sandy. So what will happen to the black bass and bluegill? Once it fills with organic debris, and they never really answered this one. So what do you guys think would happen to the bass and the bluegill once it's filled with this organic debris? What do you think, Cortland? I'm sorry? Well, what do you think would happen? If let's just have a thought experiment. So you have 2 species of fish that can live in pond B because there's no debris on the bottom. So if you look at that thick layer of debris here, a thin layer of debris here, a really thick layer of debris, and they can't breed in that. So if they can't breed, they can't reproduce. If they can't reproduce, what do you think would happen to a species that can no longer reproduce? Exactly, they would die off. Yeah, they would die off. Good job. And that you guys left that one unanswered, so that's okay. Kill the volume on that thing. You can't hear me? You can't? Oh, okay, yeah, I get that echoes murder ball. Golden shiners and mud minnows lay their eggs on chara. That's a chara plant. In which pond would you find them? So where would I find these minnows in the chara plant? So let's look. Maybe we need to look at A, B, C, and D. Which one has chara? Yeah, pond C. And that was a reading thing, just knowing that chara, that's C. So that's probably this plant right there, this chara. And did they get that one correct? They did get that one correct. Some amphibians and crawfish withstand long periods of dryness by burying themselves in mud. So they say A and D. Okay, so which do you think would be better, A or D? A or D? Julian, which do you think would be better? They said A and D. Which do you think would be better of those two? And why? The question is, it says crawfish and amphibians can withstand long periods of dryness. So which of these ponds do you think would be better suited for them? A, they put A and D. So which do you think is better of A and of D? I'm sorry? So why would you select D? It has more soil. Yeah, it has more soil. Even you can see that it looks like maybe there's a crawfish right there. Maybe there's one here. There's definitely a frog right there. You can see a burrowing. Maybe that's a tunnel that they could burrow into. That would be an advantage to having deep soil. You could burrow down into the soil. 6, dragonfly nymphs spend their time laying, let me see, the early stages of the life on submerged plants, and they climb to the surface to shed their skins and fly away. So which is going to be best for that? They said pond A. I don't know. What do you think that they're correct? Brasinia, do you think that they're correct? And if so, why? The one where it says dragonfly nymphs can spend their early development clinging to emergent plants. So these are going to be plants that emerge from the water and then they fly away. And they selected pond A. Do you agree or disagree, and why? Can you come on your mic and say so?
I agree.
Why? What is emerge? If I emerge, what does that mean to emerge? To submerge would be going underwater. What would emerge be? I'm trying to get precision. Say again. To come up or come out, right? You excrete urine, it comes out of your body. You excrete feces, it comes out of your body. That E before the word tells you that it's coming out. It's emerging. It's coming out. So where do you see plants coming out and insects at the same time? And so, yeah, pond A. You can see it there, pond A. Okay. So in which pond would gill-breathing snails be replaced by lung-breathing snails, and why? So Rodolfo, what do you, they said C. I don't know that that's necessarily true. Gill-breathing snails replaced, did they say C? Would be, so you guys got C as well? Okay, let's go look at the text and see what the text says. Okay, I'm in disagreement. I don't see anything that's telling me anything about this. Snails, I don't see anything about this. So I'm thinking about where would it be good to breathe underwater and where would it be good to breathe out of the water? So where do you think it would be best to breathe out of the water? Well, hold, I needed, I was on Rodolfo. So where do you think it would be better to breathe out of the water? Why do you say so? A lot of soil. And I'm going to double check on this. A fill with vegetation instead of the pond being filled with. Yeah, I think so too. And there's some people that are disagreeing. So Epps, why do you think A? Mm-hmm. Ooh, hey, there's something to be said for that. You got a good point. That's a good point. So you could make an argument. So if you had to write open answer, you could come back and you've got evidence as to back that up. And I would give you a point and a mark for that. It's ideal habitat for they can climb to the surface if they need to. And then D, they don't really need to breathe underwater because there's not a lot there. Either one, as long as you cited that evidence, you could get a mark for that. You could get a point. Good job, Epps. All right, I'm going to jump down and just see what they got for this. So we got pioneer annuals, perennial annual shrubs, perennials. Okay, softwood, mixedwood, and then climax. So looking at this community, going back to your to the comment that you were asking about Cortland, which of these communities 1 through 5 do you think just visually is more diverse? I think 4 too. Why do you think 4? I'm sorry, baby? Different types of trees. Yes, different species of trees. I see 2 different ones. And you see how like that one that's really got it's more white, it's kind of bushier. It's in the middle, how it got bigger and maybe shaded out the other ones. And it's all about the shade in the forest. Whenever you lose sunlight below it, here you can imagine, you can see there's not much grass growing below it because it's shaded out. You're going to lose that diversity. So you guys did a good job. So let's see these are the last 2. So everybody, I need you guys to write number 10 and 11. I'm only going to look at 10 and 11. It's an exit ticket. Number 10 and 11. Those are the 2, not going to go over that. I want to know what you have, submit it, and that will be it. You're dismissed after you submit. Now, can we write just one word? Is that going to be okay? No. There you go. Complete sentences. So number 10 and number 11, and then I will see you guys on Thursday. Right here, and I'm going to unsubmit these. So everybody has their own document now. You're going to use your own document, number 10 and number 11. That's the only 2 I want you guys, because I haven't gone over those. So I'm going to unsubmit these. Everybody answers those. And you guys are green, green, green. You guys should have them back now. I just want your answer for number 10 and number 11. And you guys did a great job. And thank you so much for chiming in as much as you did. Samira, you did a wonderful job chiming in a lot today. You guys were awesome. But you guys are my favorite class, right? So what would you expect? I'll take attendance from that submission because I know some of you guys are going to be a little late today. You may not have come in. So I'll be able to get that. Yeah, Emma, sometimes the young forest has the most diversity. Good job. You're right. Shines with freedom, shine a light on me.
Good job working. Lopez, you already submit yours, baby? Type, type, type. Yep, you're submitting just for 10 and 11. It's all I want to see. It's number 10 and number 11. Just answering those two. Just number 10, just number 11. That's what I'm looking for. Chance. Yes, sir. Some of you guys are asking me questions. You're saying my name. I suppose that's what it means. You're trying to get my attention. I'm reading your other comments. You guys had lots of great comments today. Y'all are beautiful. But some of you guys have said, Mr. Pope, and I'm like, okay, what? I'm not sure I understand your question. Can you ask me out loud?
So for number 10, I was wondering because so A and D look like they're secondary succession, but if it's just farther along, it would be A and D, but if it's finished and like almost done, it would be just D. So I was wondering which one.
Okay, so secondary succession would, in this case that you see here, is going to be, I would say A, when you look at the pond, is going to be primary because it's the first, it started from nowhere. Pond B was completely devoid of soil. There was something new occurred. So when I'm asking you to distinguish between the two, remember we're starting from some place where there was nothing, where there was bare rock, and now we're going to something that is has already got something to build upon. You've already got something to build upon. So if I go from from B to A, that's going to be primary. You're starting from nowhere, and that matters. Now, if you're going to go from A to C, you already have something to build upon. So think about the glacier. When a glacier moves away, there's nothing but rock left behind, and then that would be primary, and then secondary follows. Or if you have human disturbance, you're still going to have probably soil left behind. So like my aunt's grave was an example of secondary succession. There was already soil there. There was something for the grass to start from.
So for like number 10, it says distinguish between primary and secondary succession in terms of time.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So which do you think is going to take more time? Is it tougher? Is it more difficult to start from zero, to start from nowhere, or is it easier to already have somewhere to build upon? Like in your house, are you starting from zero, or did your parents give you the support you needed to thrive?
It would be secondary succession would be easier because you already have a foundation to build off of.
Absolutely. You already have a foundation to build upon. So I would argue that most of us, that's true. And some of it, it's less true. Thank you for asking those questions. That's important. All right, it is 10:58. If you have finished in this room, please clean your desk. For those of you guys that haven't submitted yet, I'm going to leave you guys be. I'm going to make sure that these guys have their desk clean. I'm going to see you guys Thursday. I'm sorry. Oh, that's right. What am I saying? You guys are here for ACT. Sorry. I'll stay behind for any of you guys that want to ask me any kind of questions then. So you don't have to worry about it. I'm a little disturbed by the lesson, a little shook, so to speak. Is that what you guys call it? Is that what you guys say? Shook? I don't know. That's what my daughter says. She goes, Papa, you shook. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm shook.
Bye.
Bye, baby. You be good.
Okay.
Play in the street too.
I don't want to leave the house. Allergies want to murder me.
Oh, allergies. Yeah, allergies are bad right now, man. It's the springtime. All that pollen, all that sperm on that pollen getting in everybody's nose. That's not good. Shines with your freedom, shine around me. What color is your hair, baby? Is it 3 colors or 2?
So,
It's 2. Colorblind nightmare trying to figure out everybody's hair color. How many colors is Laura's hair?
two,
2?
three.
No,
I
you're-
think it's-
Oh, okay. Yeah, time does that, fades things. What, how many colors is my hair?
Two.
2. And you're trying to mimic my hair. Look at you putting gray hair in your head. Why are you trying to mimic my head?
I'm not trying to mimic
Ah. Yeah, if you guys are finished, you guys can split, but if you guys want to ask any questions, you're welcome to stay behind and ask me any kind of questions online. Whenever you're done on that document, you can just click submit at the top. Yep, at the top, there's a submission button. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry? Go to who? Say. Just poke your head, just knock in, ask permission.